All right, now let's shift focus to what's happening in the West. Donald Trump's surprise announcement to pause his new tariffs came as a welcome move for most trading partners other than one, which is China. Trump not only denied Beijing any relief, but went on to punish it with a whopping 125% tariffs. If Trump and his team are to be believed, it was a calculated measure by the president who goaded China into a bad position. U.S. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent claimed that it was Trump's strategy all along.
And all this was, again, this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate.
Trump said that he has raised import taxes on Beijing because it has retaliated by matching the U.S. tariffs against it, while announcing a 90-day pause to the higher tariffs for the rest of the world. Trump claimed that he was raising the tariffs based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets. Beijing has hit back with retaliatory levies of 84% on U.S. imports, which came into effect on Thursday. China has vowed to fight to the end, refusing to back down in the face of Trump's efforts to bring the world's governments to the negotiating table. Bloomberg reported that its top leadership will meet on Thursday to hash out its future strategy. All right, to discuss this further from Madrid, we are being joined by Daniel Lacalle, Chief Economist at Tracy, and he's also an author. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me here on the broadcast. Now, it's interesting what has happened. I just want to go over that statement that Scott Bessent made, saying that, Trump has, in a way, goaded China into coming into this position. When these tariffs were announced, and the entire world was in shock at that time as well, this is on the 2nd of April, even that time, Scott Bessent had advised nations not to react too soon. If you put these two statements together, do you feel this was a strategy all along that Scott Bessent is now suggesting?
I think it's pretty clear that it was a strategy all along. In fact, I think that people only need to read Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, in which he basically outlines, and it's from the 80s, this strategy. And he also explained it very, very clearly in the last year and a half. So, yes, I completely agree. I think it was a strategy all along. Countries that have found ways to negotiate did not have any problem whatsoever. And there's going to be, for example, an imminent, very, very important, historic, I would say, trade deal with India, with South Korea, etc.
Daniel, but when we talk about US and China, these are the two of the world's largest economies. These are the two largest economies in the world at this point. What's at stake for both these countries as they go head to head at this point?
Well, a lot of things are at stake. In the past 20 years, the world has been accustomed to an idea that was the following, that China could export whatever it wanted to the United States, while the United States was completely banned, almost entirely, from trading adequately in China. Technology companies are banned. Property rights are not followed. There is legal and investor insecurity, and a lot of companies were seriously hurt in the United States. No, so there's the situation between the United States and China is a situation in which they will continue to cooperate, but it cannot continue the way that it has been in the past 20 years. In fact, the situation is not just a trade situation. It's a monetary situation. It's a financing situation, and it's a property rights situation, as well as a technology, a leadership battle.
Daniel, you mentioned earlier, some of the countries which are managing their way around these tariffs, they are going to get by. But at this point, given the predicament now US and China are going to find themselves in, they already are in this, there is going to be a global impact of this as well. If you can lay that down for us, the trade dynamics around the world, how that's going to change.
I think that there will be a significant shift in investment outside of China and into the countries that reach trade deals. I think that there will be a very significant break in the historic trade relationships, in which there will be those countries that actually have positive trade deals with the United States and those that are closest to China. Obviously, countries are sovereign, and some of them will have positive relationships with both. But the breaking point between China and the United States started many years ago, when China started to use its enormous inflow of US dollars to try to eliminate its position within the US dollar and US centric financial system. So we're basically seeing two mega powers that are becoming the world leading financiers, and that are going to cooperate, but not as closely as they did in the early 2000s.
Well, Trump definitely has China exactly where he wanted them to be at this point. It was a strategy as that it has surfaced now. And going forward, we'll need to see where it goes. The US has gone from 34% to 104% to 125%. It only seems to be getting more hostile at this point in economic terms. But we'll need to wait and watch where this one goes. That was Daniel Lacal joining me from Madrid. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.